Greetings, members, one and all of the Salivation Nation. Silver bounces back from the brink. Let's explore. Late yesterday evening, I posted a video discussing silver's breakdown. It's falling apart. And I know that sounds like dramatic language, but when you think about where silver has been over the last year or so, it crashed down below $12 an ounce. That was a pretty substantial drop. And then we saw it go up to almost, right at $30 briefly for a moment of time. And then we saw it level out in the $26, $27 range and hovering in the $28 range for a while. So to see it break resistance, it's kind of the beginning of a falling apart sort of cycle for the price of silver. But as I mentioned in a nuanced discussion of the topic, we should not lose heart as silver stackers. We should not be operated by fear. But it is interesting to kind of watch these price movements, especially in the volatile age in which we live, and as far as economically is concerned, there's a lot of different aspects and tiers to our situation economically, with all this money printing and liquidity injected into the markets. In fact, the Federal Reserve met again today, the FOMC minutes. They're talking about keeping the rates the same. So let's get behind and talk a little bit about what's behind this price movement, because we saw silver move much more dramatically than gold. Although it should be noted that platinum has made the biggest recovery of the metals, although it is still down from where it was before, over $1,100 an ounce. But let's talk a little bit about this. And there's an article from FX Empire that talks a little bit about this movement, how it is settled above its resistance level, which was at $24.70. It's kind of the resistance levels that a lot of these technical analysts kind of give as to where we can see it go from one point to another. I had mentioned in the past in a previous video that once silver gets above $28, which is another resistance level to the upside, that we could see it continue to climb. Well, it is summer, and there's a lot of different things that come into play. And just because it's summer, when prices typically are low, remember last year at this time, we did see silver rise and continuing its recovery from that big drop that we saw. And so it was about at this time of the year, last year, it had more than doubled from that big drop to over $25 an ounce. Well, now it's below, as of yesterday, it went below that period for a moment of time. Hence, we saw kind of a little bit of panic in the markets. But the U.S. dollar index has recently managed to get above $92.6 and continues to move towards its resistance at 92.8 as the Fed interest rate decision, which no surprise there, they decided to leave rates unchanged. In fact, they're still under this opinion that the inflation is transitory. And we may explore that in a coming video as to why they may be right at this point. But who knows? So far, they've not been right. And as far as what that transitory level means, maybe they're leaving it broad and open-ended. But I digress. And so seeing silver kind of recover and the dollar to strengthen here, to see silver go up in that environment, kind of makes you wonder what's going on here. Gold, we see it kind of rising a little bit too, but not as much. Settled below $1,800, but the next support level for that is $1,775, which if that were to happen, then it would be bearish for silver and other precious metals as well. The gold to silver ratio faced resistance at the 73 level and pulled back a bit. In fact, as of right now, the recording of this video, the gold to silver ratio is 72.42 because of silver's pretty big move upwards. And so silver received this support at $24.50 is trying to settle back above $24.70, and it was successful. And now we are back above $25 again. In fact, as of right now, the ask price for silver is $25.06. The bid price is still below $24. At $24.96, that dime's worth of difference. But silver rose over 1.2% today, up 30 cents, which is a pretty substantial recovery. It's bouncing back from that brink. If it can hold on, then we may have avoided a further breakdown in the silver price. Because usually sometimes this stuff happens and cascades downwards, as I kind of mentioned in yesterday's video. On the support side, silver needs to settle below $24.70 to have another chance to test the support at $24.50. If silver were to decline below this level, it will move towards the next support at $24.20. And so there you go. When you can see that, these different stair-stepping patterns, $24 is obviously a huge level of support to the downside, and then it breaks through into the 23s. Well, it would have some of us nervous, but others of us will see it as a buying opportunity because, well, premiums are starting to come into the realm of reality again. And I think it would take quite a bit of a larger drop for it to see a rush on to buy. In fact, typically if we see it to steadily go downwards, then you will start to see people kind of say, I'm out of this. I'm done with this, trying to keep up with silver. I've lost money on it since I've been buying, especially since the silver squeeze. But it's all about perseverance. Because in the end, what do we have to look forward to? And that is silver preserving our wealth over the long course of time. And that is the thing that we have to keep in mind here, no matter really what happens to prices. Because if the prices were to spike up big time, because right now, this is just a bouncing back from the brink. We're kind of testing the waters of where we were and playing with the prices to where we were before that drop we had yesterday. But if we were to start to see the prices spike up dramatically, that's not good either. Because what goes up must come down. We've been there, done that. The markets overall are fairly volatile. We're in some sense in untested waters to many degrees, with a national debt getting well closer to $29 trillion. We're going to hit $30 trillion soon. And with the spending, liquidity, the housing market starting to slow down a bit, there are signs that we could maybe dip into a recession again. But who knows? I did hear a report that said that we were in one of the shortest recessions in history, and that it ended almost about a month after it began last year. But I don't know. I mean, there's other reports we've got to kind of take a look at until it's widely distributed and analyzed. But a lot of that data and information they tend to revise after the fact, and so by some revisions and to where that data can be before we can say we're out of this yet. But obviously there's other factors at play in terms of the coronavirus and the Delta variant, how the markets react to that we have to measure as well. But in the end, I think, especially based off of my last video, most of you see this as an opportunity and are not deterred by these prices. And I think that's a wonderful thing. However, I also believe in being realistic about the price of silver as well too, which is why when we see these big drops and these big spikes in price, to not panic either way, shape, or form. Just hold fast and remember what silver has done, how it's performed in terms as a monetary asset for thousands of years. And that is the thing to keep in mind here too. Now, obviously, we cannot ignore the commodity side of silver and the industrial uses that silver provides. That is something that will continue to intrigue us and fascinate us as we move forward. And the demand side is something to watch. Why should we watch that demand? Because that's going to have an effect on the price as well too. And remember, that demand side in the as a commodity will have a larger effect on the price of silver and the commodities exchanges than physical demand for the coins, rounds, and bars that we've seen. And so that is something to keep in mind too as we move forward. Watch that demand as things start to recover, so to speak, depending on your frame of reference, and as more silver demand is utilized for green technologies, which is where we were heading anyway, regardless of what some perceived mandates by governments around the world. So there you have it. Let me know what your thoughts are as we see silver bouncing back from this brink. I would like to extend a multitude of gratitude to you all for taking the time to watch, and to encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.